Hola estudiantes, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Espero que estén bien. Okay. A ver, so I wanted to basically say hi and also let you know that I already graded week number 5 and number 4. Okay. For these 2 weeks, I was concerned about exposure to vocabulary and structure. Okay, I'm not concerned about being perfect, expressing all that stuff perfectly in Spanish, not necessarily. Okay, bien. So I wanted to make sure that you are getting exposed to the language, and if you completed the activity, of course you're going to see 100, okay, for those 2 activities. And if you didn't, unfortunately, you got a 0. Okay, now I need you to be exposed to the language. Don't be afraid of trying, okay? Don't be afraid of trying. Keep trying all the time. If it's not perfect, that's okay, because eventually it will be great, okay? So when you start losing that fear, right? Then you start learning, okay? The fear of being incorrect, forget about that, okay? Bien. So let's see. Let's talk about structure, because eventually I'm going to start paying attention to structure, okay? And I'm going to be a little bit more critical about the structure. But before, I wanted to have number 1, exposure, number 2, another feedback and explanation. So then you have a better sense of what you're doing, right? And trying again, okay? So let's go back to gustar, okay? Me gusta. So me gusta. Every time that we want to say I like something, we are going to use this expression, okay? Pay attention. In English, you use I, which is the subject, the doer, and then you have like, which is the verb, okay? Now, in Espanol, this one, me, is not the I, it's not yo, okay? So it's a little bit different. And then, as you can see, gusta is not ending with an O, so it's not the verb for the yo form, okay? So this is an expression that we are going to learn. Sometimes we have some structures that are very similar in English and Spanish, but sometimes they are very different. So that's why we have different languages, because we human beings, we love to say things our way, okay? And depending on the region that I come from, my language is going to basically express a perspective of reality, and that's what is a language. So when you learn a second language, you are learning not only words and structures, but also perspectives, okay? Ways of seeing life and reality, and that's beautiful, okay? Bien, so me gusta, again, is expressing I like. And then we have here, you're going to see infinitives, okay? And when you think about these over here, I want you to think the ing form in English, like talking, dancing, running, etc., etc., okay? So when you use those verbs in the ing form in English, they are acting as nouns, okay? Like dancing is nice, dancing is my passion. So those are nouns. Now in Spanish, we can use the verbs as noun too, and they are going to be in the infinitive form. Instead of going to the ing form, we're going to keep them in the infinitive form, AR, ER, and IR, okay? So let's go back. Bailar. Yeah, I was supposed to write over here hablar. Bien, so bailar, dancing, and I'm going to give you the rough translation, okay? Because you learned already the the traditional translation, okay? Now, the rough translation is dancing, okay? Remember the ing form that I mentioned a few minutes ago? Seconds. Bailar, dancing, is pleasing to me. So that's the idea. And instead of starting from the beginning, I like blah, 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 in Spanish, to have a better sense of what is going on, we start from the back to the beginning. Only in this case, only with me gusta, okay? So, I mean, and I'm talking about this because we're focusing on translating, okay? In this particular case. It's not something that you're going to do all the time. It's just to understand this, okay? So we're going to start from the end, okay? So dancing is pleasing to me. Eating is pleasing to me. Writing is pleasing to me. Reading is pleasing to me. And then talking is pleasing to me, okay? And of course, if I want to change the person, then instead of me, I'm going to use te for the you form, okay? So me for the first, te, and then le for él o ella o usted. So in this case, because I have three choices, then I have to make sure that I mention the person who likes the activity, okay? Bien. And then nos, os, and then les. And the les, again, I have to mention the group, ¿verdad? Ellos, ellas, a María y a Luis, o a ustedes, ¿verdad? And then I start with a. A María le gusta, okay? Bien. So, I hope that this is clear, okay? And remember, at the beginning, be acquainted with vocabulary, be exposed to the vocabulary, don't be afraid, okay? And little by little, we're going to start putting some pressure there so you get it correctly, okay? Bien. So next time, we're going to start talking about sentences, complete sentences, and I'm going to give you just some ideas, okay? So we went over the me gusta. Now we can talk about yo como pizza. Oopsie. A ver. Bien. So yo como pizza, for example. A lot of people, they complain that, oh, I don't know how to write a complete sentence in Spanish. People, it's extremely easy to write a simple sentence in Spanish. And the structure is sujeto, the doer, subject, and then verbo. And then you need a verb, okay? And then if you need something else to complete the idea, then something else, okay? So yo, then the verb, remember the verb has to be conjugated depending on the perspective, okay? And something else to, in some cases, not all the time, to complete the idea. Sometimes when you say sujeto and verb, sometimes you have the whole idea there, okay? But sometimes you need something else to be more precise, to explain better, etc., etc., okay? So keep that in mind, study, okay? And keep trying. Don't pay attention to perfection. It doesn't work, okay? Pay attention to the process and tell something to yourself. I'm learning, okay? And making mistakes is part of the learning process. And I'm going to be able to do this, okay? Because I'm going to make mistakes. It's not the end of the world. And besides that, the professor is always paying attention to improvements. Okay, so if you started the class with a lot of zeros because blah blah blah, at the end you could finish this course with a good grade, okay, depending on your effort. Okay, so keep trying and don't give up. Okay, hasta luego, chao.